Hello and welcome to yet another episode of NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime. Brought to you, of course, by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, the nation's apex regulator of the Nigerian maritime space. That includes shipping activities, matters relating to seafarers and maritime labor, safety at sea, the protection of the marine environment, and of course, coastal shipping, popularly known as cabotage. My name is Ubong Isien, and as always, I will be your guide on this voyage. Welcome back. It's still NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime. As always, we begin with the DJ's diary. Dr. Bashir Jama has been up and about within the Nigerian maritime domain. Also on today's episode is the concluded installment on REX, on our Know Your Convention. And of course, our other regulars that you've come to know the program for. So if you're ready, let's anchor away.
The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, has stressed the need for foreign vessels to comply with the Cabotage Act and the rules of doing business in Nigeria. The Permanent Secretary said this while engaging the executive management of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency at the agency's headquarters in Lagos. The Cabotage Act primarily reserves the commercial transportation of goods and services within Nigerian coastal and inland waters to vessels flying the Nigerian flag owned and crewed by Nigerian citizens and built in Nigeria. However, many of the indigenous shipping companies, whose main purpose of promulgating the law was for their development, are yet to improve. Dr. Ajani, during her meeting with the NIMASA executive, charged the agency to sanction erring vessels.
The foreign vessels they are using need to comply with the Cabotage Act and the rules of doing business in our country. And NIMASA, please, we are going to make sure that we enforce what needs to be enforced. And anybody that is erring should be sanctioned. If we get to the point where business has to be stopped, let it be stopped. Let it be stopped. Because we won't do that without looking at the economic effect on our country. Yes, we won't do that. So we have as much conversation as we can have. We've been in conversations with OICs, we've been in conversation with NNPC, DPR and everything. So now that we know that there's a NIMASA week to it, we are going to incorporate everything together. At least as it relates to transportation, they need to work by the rules. And people want you to generate money. They want MBA to generate money. You are providing the services. Nigerian entities are not paying. So how do you keep your books clean and say, okay, this is what we are really generating, when people who are supposed to pay you are not paying?
In reaction to this, the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jama, also stressed that multinationals must align with the Cabotage Act, adding that NIMASA will ensure that they engage Nigerian ship owners to carry their cargoes.
The operators, the owners, the multinational oil companies must recognize the presence of the cabotage, and the enforcement must be aligned with it, whether we like it or not. So the issue of cooperation is highly needed from NNPC. They are the major service providers that we can utilize to make sure that the ship owners, they have cargo whenever they want it.
The NIMASA boss further explained that the duty of the Cabotage Act is to empower ship owners to operate rather than to generate revenue.
the duty of cabotage is to provide the citizen job, is to provide the ship owners leeway to operate and participate fully in the cabotage trade. So the issue of enforcement of the act in terms of providing job to our own citizenry is more important than the revenue. Revenue is important, but as Minister said recently, I have been saying it, we are not here now to generate more revenue. The revenue is a sideline. It is good, we have it, but what we require to do and the major objective of the cabotage trade is to ensure that we have a say in our own internal cargo.
The Executive Director, Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, Engineer Victor Oche, explained that the agency can only process waivers while the power to grant waiver rests with the Ministry of Transportation.
It's also funny that you process the waiver and then the person is in limbo. So most times they went out there with waiver processing fees paid and being taken as giving them waiver, capital waiver, but there are two different things completely.
NIMASA's Executive Director in charge of operations, Madam Shilwak Med, pointed out the need for seafarers verification and port state control before granting cabotage waivers. Meanwhile, the amendment process of the Cabotage Act is currently ongoing at the National Assembly. This will enhance its responsiveness and stimulate more opportunities for seafarers and ship owners while improving shipbuilding capacity. The Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Bashiru Jamo, played host to Executive Chairman of Apapa Local Government, Honorable Idowu Adejumoke Sebanjo, and members of our delegation who visited the agency headquarters in Lagos. The local government team, led by the chairman, sought the assistance of the agency to carry out a number of projects for the benefit of the host communities.
We need to create food courts around Apapa so that we can get rid of all these women selling on the roads, put them in food courts and make Apapa look cleaner and more decent.
Responding, Dr. Jamo congratulated the chairman for coming out victorious in the recent local government elections. The NIMASA DG affirmed that 70% of import comes in through the ports in Apapa, while he pointed out that the local government needs to employ a better strategy to generate revenue.
If you move around the world, most of the port cities, they are richer, especially when you go to America. They are richer than those states and cities that doesn't have ports. The most important road in every country is the port leading to city, with their own ports. 90% of our economy is dependent on imports, and 70% of the imports comes in and out of our ports at Tinkan Island ports. So those Apapa and Tinkan Island ports sit under Apapa port. So I think the issue here is strategy on what you can do, what you can offer to make the life better for the local government, so that people will be willing. There are things you will do, they will be willing to operate. They can tax themselves. You cannot do it alone, I agree. We have to come together, we have to put all hands must be on deck to make sure that we help you to achieve this aim.
The NIMASA boss advised the team to pick interest in the operations of jetties in the area as a means of generating revenue.
So you must know the number of jetties you have. You should have a unit or department in your own local government that take care of all those things. You go around and see, so that you can be able to provide a central pool where people can be able to utilize jetties. So if you have central pool that you know these are the jetties I know and I recognize, you can be able to easily generate your own revenue.
The agency reiterated its readiness to always cooperate with the local government to bring development to the port's environment.
It's that time of the year again. Every year, for the past 25 years, Public Policy Research and Analysis Center, PPRAC, honors the most accomplished leaders with the Zik Prize in Leadership Award. This year, the list is awesome. His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Sule, Senator Anyim Pius Anyim, Senator Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora, Mrs. Ekaite Unoma Ekpabio, Dr. Akinwumi Ayodeji Adeshina, Malam Nele Kolokeyari, Dr. Bashir Y. Jamo, Mr. UK Eke, and Mr. Uche Oji. We invite you to be a part of this epochal event at the Eco Hotel Convention Center, Lagos, date 7th of November 2021, under the distinguished chairmanship of Dr. Okwesileze Nwodo, Royal Guest of Honor Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, Emir of Kano, Chief Host Sama Kunwabara.
The Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Bashir Jamo, came on board and summarized his administration agenda into triple S, which are maritime security, maritime safety, and shipping development.
When I came in, I tried to subsume the entire strategy of achieving that vision into 3S. We call it threefold S: maritime security, maritime safety, and shipping development. That's the 3S. Under the maritime security, to ensure that we maintain a very good and serene environment for the shipping business to strive. Without security, maritime security, is very difficult for us to have our ships moving in and around or outside the country, and the investors may not be able to come. So the first priority when I came is to ensure that we maintain a very good maritime security network.
Maritime insecurity is no doubt a major threat to doing maritime businesses in Nigeria and the Gulf of Guinea. The process of changing the narrative about the security of the Nigerian maritime environment began with the enactment of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences (SPOMO) Act of 2019 and signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. The law sets out guidelines for the prosecution of cases of piracy in courts, and some pirates have been jailed, something that was not possible before now. The game changer in the effort to secure Nigeria's maritime environment is the policy intervention known as the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, popularly known as the Deep Blue Project. The project is embodied in the careful assemblage of assets and equipment, which are 2 special mission aircrafts, 3 special mission helicopters, 4 unmanned aerial vehicles, 2 special mission vessels, 17 interceptor boats, 16 armored vehicles, the C4I Center, and over 600 human personnel to operate these assets. The project was launched by President Muhammadu Buhari in June 2021.
The flag off of the Deep Blue Project marks an important milestone in this regard and in our collective efforts to tackle security challenges in the form of piracy and maritime crimes in Nigeria and the Gulf of Guinea.
The Secretary General of International Maritime Organization, Kitek Lim, commended Nigeria for this initiative.
I wholeheartedly welcome today's launch of Nigeria's Deep Blue Project, reflecting Nigeria's commitment to lead the fight against piracy, not only in your national waters, but in the Gulf of Guinea. The launch of this project is a significant step to enhance maritime security in the region.
Other international stakeholders in maritime security also attest.
Nigeria's Deep Blue project is notable. It is by far the most ambitious and promising project in the region right now, and has the potential, over time, to be a game changer to the fight against piracy.
This intervention has been also possible through the good service of the legal system, because with the SPOMO Act that Nigeria has approved in 2019, recently 10 pirates were sentenced for 12 years. So it is a cross-sectoral approach.
As a strong believer in multilateralism, Nigeria, together with the International Coordinating Center (ICC) in Yaoundé, have engaged with multinational bodies like Intertanko, Intercargo, BIMCO, International Chamber of Shipping, OCIMF, and others to develop a framework known as the Gulf of Guinea Maritime Collaboration Forum on shared awareness and deconfliction to discourage. The G7++ Friends of Gulf of Guinea is another multinational and multilateral collaboration on maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. Since the deployment of the Deep Blue assets, there has been a tangible reduction in pirate attacks and sea robberies in Nigerian waters and in the Gulf of Guinea from a peak of 10 attacks in December 2020 to 1 or no attacks per month. The International Maritime Bureau's second quarter report for 2021 indicated a drastic reduction of over 81% in the number of piracy attacks in the Gulf of Guinea and an 80% reduction in the number of cases of kidnapping within the review period.
The second quarter report shows that we achieved 80% reduction in terms of maritime insecurity, in terms of piracy attack. So this gives us a leeway to say that in the last 27 years, we never experienced such achievement.
While the recently released third quarter report for 2021, which also showed a further decline in piracy attacks. Most notably, Nigeria only reported 4 incidents in the first 9 months of 2021 in comparison to 17 in 2020 and 41 in 2018. The NIMASA DG expressed strong confidence that a sustained reduction in reported cases of piracy and other maritime crimes on Nigeria's waters, coupled with continued engagement with global players in the industry, would lead to the removal of war risk insurance premium imposed on Nigerian-bound cargoes by international underwriters and multinational shipping lines.
We haven't achieved this. Now we launch a campaign. These are the key performance indicators. This is where we are today. They responded to us that, well, you have to remain where you are until we see sustainability in what you are experiencing now. Fine. Okay, let's see your key performance indicators. If we achieve this milestone, where shall we be? You have to reduce it. If you cannot remove it entirely, you give us the timeline and what you expect us to achieve. As we are achieving, you are removing it.
Viewers, welcome back to another segment of Know Your Conventions on NIMASA This Week, the Voice of Maritime. Today we'll be bringing to you the concluding part or the concluding episode of the International Convention on the Removal of Wrecks, also known as Nairobi Convention. My guests still remain Mr. Issa Moody, the acting head of the Marine Environment Management Department, and also Dr. Owl, Chief Marine Environment Management Officer. After removal of this wreck, the hazardous wreck, what next?
After removal, what next is disposal. And that is why there's a convention on ship recycling known as Hong Kong Convention. It's an international convention that deals with the aspect of disposal of ship wrecks. So now, the end of lifespan of the wrecks ends with the disposal. And like I said earlier, the Nairobi Convention is identifying where these wrecks are because of its hazardous nature, but that's not the end. The disposal is the end of it, because if you remove it, you're not going to dump it again in the marine ecosystem because it will cause the same problem.
So that's why you said the International Convention
for safe and environmentally
recycling of ships comes in.
All
right.
You can do the breaking, but it's not safe and environmentally recycling as it's stated in the Hong Kong Convention. So the Hong Kong Convention is now guiding how you can dispose these wreckage in a safe and environmentally manner. And there are procedures of doing that.
Mr. Moody, so he has talked about disposal and recycling of the wreck. While the wreck is being disposed or breaking or being recycled, what's NIMASA as a regulatory agency's function?
The Hong Kong Convention 2009 gives you the basic requirements and guidelines on how to select a ship which has reached the end of their trading life and how to house it, in what facility you would house it, and these ships will be broken in an environmentally sustainable manner. The Hong Kong Convention now regulates how these facilities should be established.
Okay, so NIMASA ensures that the facility is in line with...
You must get a permit, a facility permit from NIMASA before you start cutting a ship. The facility permit is where you're going to warehouse the wreck. Okay. Then the ship-specific break-in, you need a permit too for that from NIMASA. For breaking the ship now, whoever brings in the ship for break-in would have to send an application to the agency, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before you want to break it. The wreck, sorry. Then you attach the inventory of hazardous material, the IHM. It will be done by a competent surveyor. This now shows spots within the ship where you have hazardous materials, i.e., you have your asbestos. The Hong Kong Convention tells you the workers disposing of this asbestos will wear PPEs specific for breaking of asbestos. How you break the asbestos, you'll water it, you'll put it in a secure area. All the processes from removal to storage.
It also protects the staff or employees working at the shipyard.
Around the shipyard.
In addition to the environment, yes.
It protects it.
Oh, that's interesting. That's good. Dr. Awal, I know the Director General of NIMASA recently launched the first phase of removal of wrecks. And in addition, he mentioned the arrangements are also in place for disposal of these wrecks that were removed. Do you want to shed more light on that?
Yeah, this is a very good initiative with regards to the disposal of these ship wreckages, which is for the first phase. Is to ensure that the critical wrecks around Kirikiri channels have been removed that is causing obstruction to navigation. And now this is the first phase. The second phase is going to cover all the coastal line, which is the western, central, and eastern zones. Now the arrangement for this disposal, what the DG said is that we're going to have a kind of collaboration with Nigerian Railway Corporation, who has an existing foundry. And like I said, removal is not the final stage of wreck removal. The disposal is also part of it to complement it. And because they have found... critical component of wreck removal. And because Nigerian Railway Corporation has a foundry, the DG of NIMASA or the management of NIMASA have a kind of collaboration with the Nigerian Railway Corporation to warehouse these wrecks and break them in an environmentally friendly manner. That does not stop other private sectors coming in who has the capacity to do that breakage, especially when the breaking shipyard is suitable for this kind of activity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moody. Thank you for coming to this segment. And also, Dr. Owl, thank you for coming to this segment.
Thank you, Isi.
Viewers, that's as much as we can take today on the International Convention for Removal of Wrecks, also known as the Nairobi Convention. Until next time, NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, continues.
Welcome back. It's still NIMASA this week, the voice of maritime. And we go straight to the weekly newspaper column by the DG of NIMASA, popularly known as the Maritime Mandate. And this week, the DG is talking about a very important subject matter. So you can read more about this in the Guardian newspaper every Wednesday. The column is called Maritime Mandate. You can also use the hashtag Maritime Mandate to access all of the previous write-ups under the same column. There are over 30 pieces that have been written so far. You can continue the conversation with the DG on all of his social media handles, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook and of course YouTube. Do remember also that we have our NIMASA official social media handles as displayed on your screen to continue the conversation. However, if your interest in the Nigerian maritime space is for business, then you know that business has to be played by the rules. And in the maritime environment, there are regulations. Yes, maritime is highly regulated, and NIMASA is the sole agency responsible for domiciling the regulations and conventions of the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, and of course, ensuring that there is compliance. You cannot, for instance, purchase a vessel, bring it into our waters without registering. NIMASA has a ship registry. That is where you go to in order to register your vessel before you can operate your shipping business and related interests in our waters. That is why the NIMASA official website, as displayed on your screen, must remain your first port of call. Thank you for watching today's episode of NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime. Remember that the sea lives in every one of us. Till I see you next time, my name remains Ubong Isen, and I'm asking you to stay on course. Bye-bye.